Well, the dust from the NAMM show is settled, and we're here with Dave Smith at his new headquarters in San Francisco.
Hi.
You moved up a floor.
We moved up a floor to a space that's about twice as big, so we're able to stretch out a little bit.
And we're in your new synth room here, which I just want to give people a quick look around.
Yeah, we're not totally set up in a new office because we just moved a couple weeks ago, but we're getting there.
So this is the view out of your office every day
Yeah.
if your name's Dave Smith. Well, actually, maybe not, because there's probably other guys named Dave Smith who don't have this view. But yeah, so we're here today to get a closer look at the Prophet-6, your new synth that we saw briefly at NAMM, which is a 6-voice discrete analog synth. It's all analog except for the new digital effects section, which is right there.
Which can be turned off if you're
Yes.
a purist and only want those analog electrons.
And that is a true bypass.
It is
Right.
a bypass.
Yeah. But I'm just wondering if you maybe start by walking us through the signal path and some of the polymod capabilities and so forth. I was playing this for about an hour before you came in, and one of the things I noticed is that compared to synths which are eminently tweakable, like the P12 and the P08, which I've used on a lot of gigs, this even more so just invites you to dive in and start adjusting presets and tweaking sounds and calling up sounds from tunes you've played.
Well, exactly.
And so forth.
It's all a matter of, we try to go back a little bit more to the roots of the Prophet-5. And you know, when you play the Prophet-5 now, everybody knows it sounds great. Everybody loves the sound, but it's still somewhat quaint as far as modern day features go. But everybody loves vintage stuff these days, and even though I've never wanted to copy an old instrument, we're not, but we're trying to get that basic soul and the basic ease of use, and everything is grabbable. So there's no menu diving because there's no menu.
No menus.
You can't, it's not possible. And we actually have a preset button that if you turn it off, everything becomes live, and you know, it'll do whatever you have set up. And so it's just so easy and fast and fun to play because it's all right there. But if you're used to a Prophet-5, you know, everybody says, oh, that they want a Prophet-5, but then they go back and play it and they go, oh, well, this doesn't really do much, does it? But it does, because you could dive so deep into a Prophet-5 and it just keeps going. So what we tried to do is modernize it. So we've added a lot of features. I mean, it still has polymod, very much like the original, but you know, it could also go to the shape of oscillator one. It can go to the high pass as well as the low pass.
So just to explain to folks who might not know what this is extra modulation routings.
It's extra. I mean, that's what's nice here is all the modulation routing is fixed and it's on the panel, so you don't have to dig through and find it. And that was one of the cool things about the original Prophet-5. You know, it was the first main polyphonic synth, so there were some things that people didn't understand, like what's the difference when you do modulation polyphonically versus monophonically. So I had developed something called polymod that would do just that. And so we had to carry that over, of course, because it's one of the best known parts of the Prophet-5.
And gives you really some pseudo-modular capabilities in terms of how out there the sounds can get. So you have sources here, source amounts here.
Right, so if I want to...
And then those buttons are destinations.
Right, so this is doing FM pretty much from oscillator 2 to oscillator 1.
Which of course means all of the settings of oscillator 2 will affect the quality of oscillator 1 as the carrier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So let it never be said that DX7 was the first synthesizer that could do FM.
Well, of course, you know, that's the whole thing with FM is you know, any mono synth can do FM. It's just a matter of modulating one with the other. So, yeah, it's So that's what Polymod does. And again, you just hit a switch and it's there or gone. Or you control it with the envelope. And it can be positive or negative, which the original Prophet 5 could not do.
So one very basic application for this is a pitch envelope.
Sure.
If you want a little fall in at the beginning of the brass sound, for example.
So standard shifting up to, the same frequency,
And of course, a really cool application there is you can have it. You have it on one oscillator, but not the other.
Right. So which is what we're doing.
Yeah.
So again, we could spend an hour just on Polymod. We've added other modern features like Aftertouch, where you could route it to anything number of different.
That section.
Yeah.
So you just have an amount knob and then destination by destination
again, same
buttons.
thing. If I turn on frequency 1 and filter. So that wasn't on the Prophet 5 because it had no aftertouch. And we, of course, have velocity also. So
several velocity implementations, velocity to filter.
Yeah, you could send it to either of the two filters or the VCA. So again, it's just real easy. You hit a switch and you have velocity, and you turn it off and you don't. We added a high pass filter. The original Prophet 5 did not have a high pass, so that's something new and different compared to it. But these days people are used to it. We have a sub oscillator. Noise was on the original. Different shapes. We have a continuous shape mod.
And both the oscillators were continuous shape.
Yeah, and pulse width, of course. So that's all similar. Sync is similar. The LFO has more destinations, but it's pretty much the same. It's a single LFO. It's tied to the wheel like it was in the Prophet 5. But we also have other things that Prophet 5 didn't have. The whole concept of having synchronous clocked effects. We have an arpeggiator, pretty standard. But you could also synchronize other things to the arpeggiator. You could synchronize the LFO. You could synchronize the effects when you're using a digital delay or a bucket brigade. So it's, again, set up to be very quick and easy to synchronize. Yeah, it's got a step sequencer that can also be synchronized with everything. So a lot of modern day features that.
I was just playing with that to make the Who Baba O'Reilly intro.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you use used enter notes in one at a time, and you use the zero key, the zero button
For
to rest.
Yeah. So if I wanted to record something, it's real easy. It is a polyphonic step sequence also. I mean,
cool.
that's kind of a silly. So it's, again, very fast and easy. The sequences can be stored on each patch, and they have up to 64 steps and up to 6 voices per step. Just fun stuff to play with. Beyond that, you have glide, you have unison, you have a hold button.
A lot of the expected features,
the usual stuff. But it's it's all comes down to the sound of this thing. There's a sound that is
very immediate.
Very immediate. It sounds great. It sounds different than our other instruments. I don't like to take sides. I don't think this sounds better than a Prophet 8 or a Prophet 12 or a Pro 2, but they're all different. They all have their own sound, their own personalities, and people love them all for different reasons, and often we get in trouble because people want all of our instruments, and it gets expensive after a while.
Yeah, and they want all of them in one, and they want to pay $1,500.
But yeah, exactly. But that's when it's real analog instruments, that's what you're getting is the personality of that particular instrument. It's different. It's
well, guitar players, of which you are one, right? Don't think
a little bit,
don't have any trepidation whatever about owning many different guitars. Yeah. Because each has its own tone, and its own feel, and its own personality.
It could be a Telecaster, but which Telecaster, made where, or in what year, and who played it, and everything about it. And that's if you build a digital instrument, they're all going to be exactly the same. It's like a cell phone. Every cell phone is exactly the same. When you're building an analog instrument, they're always just a little bit different, and it's we try to make them the same because they have to.
Within the model, they have to be consistent.
Yeah, exactly. But
what maybe, I totally get that this is a very different instrument, the Prophet-08.
Yes.
But, for the kid who's really has discovered synthesizers and has saved up his first $2,800 for his first Poly, and, they go into the music store and they go, well, wow, do I get the 6 or the 08?
Or the 12, or the 2, Pro 2. I mean, I don't have a set answer for that. Like the Prophet 12 kind of does it all. If you want a deep instrument, you want 12 voices. I mean, and it's got a great sound. I mean, a lot of pros have this and they love it and they're touring with it, and it's just an awesome instrument. The Pro 2, I'm kind of pointing backwards here. This one's the Pro 2.
I was pointing at the Prophet 12. It's okay.
The Pro 2 is just, it sounds good. It sounds excellent. I mean, it just got that beefy sound to it. It's a mono synth that can also play as a poly synth. If you want an instrument to be the center of your studio, especially if you have a modular system, this is it, because it's got all the control voltage ins and outs, and it's just the perfect center of your studio. And a Prophet 8 is, this is almost a vintage instrument now. We're still shipping this. When did it come out? 8 years ago already. And,
oh my God, it's that long.
Yeah.
Wow, it seems like yesterday to me.
I know, and we're still selling them month to month, as many as we ever have, because it's just kind of a classic old slab poly synth, and we're not that many other people make analog poly synths, so this has kind of been the standard, and people love the way this sounds.
Yeah.
But this is a different
if you've got a 70s, 80s cover band, as I did, this was just great to have. Because you could just get all those sounds.
And it's actually less expensive. It has some features that this does not, and it costs less. But for people who want the original Prophet 5 vibe and the discrete VCOs, and the filters are different between the two, so you could decide which ones you like best. And like I said, a lot of people like them both. So you got to listen to it and decide. But the interest on this and the pre-orders we're getting have been pretty much off the charts. And of course, getting the sequential name back, this whole thing has a lot to do with it. So this is the first sequential instrument in 35 years, and people are really picking up on that too.
Absolutely.
It's really cool. The name does not make the instrument. I mean, this is not a cool instrument because of this. It's a cool instrument because of how it sounds and what it does. But this is just kind of like frosting. It's just fun to be able to do that again after all these years.
Which was suggested to Yamaha's president Takuya Nakata by Roland's founder Ikutaro Kakahashi.
Yes, that's how it happened.
He basically called him up one morning and said, "Why don't you give Dave the sequential name?"
He sent him a note, and I didn't know this was going on until Yamaha contacted me and said, "Well, do you want your name back?" And I said, "Sure."
Well, they weren't doing anything with it.
So. No, they weren't. I mean, it makes sense, but we all know there's plenty of stories in the industry where that doesn't happen.
Where someone didn't get to use their name for a long time.
And even though somebody else is sitting on it and not doing anything with it, it's like, well, it's whatever. But so it was just really good to see that happen. And it was.
I can think of a few people whose names I won't name that I hope will follow the example.
my lips are sealed.
Yes. Well, that is the Prophet-6. Really really huge sounding. We got back into preset mode. Of course, with the camera on. It's very, very huge sounding. What's a good tune for a big chord to play us out on?
Oh, I don't know what's in here. That's the problem with this. This is a prototype. We're actually using it to...
That's a good one. It's a good swell.
It's fun. It'll be even better when it's done.
$27.95 street price, and
We think. We're not committing to that yet because it's not 100% done.
And ETA?
Late May, early June-ish. It depends.
All right.
That's what we're targeting, and it's as you can see, it's mostly working. It's pretty far along, but it always takes time to get it into production and make sure we get it perfect.
And I just want to help you, as you were showing me a moment ago before I had the camera rolling, between the hold function, the arpeggiator, the polymod, oscillator 2 working its magic on the frequency of oscillator 1, you can really do generative music on this. I mean, it'll play and not repeat itself.
We had it going last night where we just started things up, and every time you hit just one little switch or turn one little knob, it just went in a different direction. But it was basically playing by itself, non-repeating, and it just kept going. Every once in a while, these low notes would come in and just floor and rumble a little bit, and then would kind of go someplace else. And it's all there. It really is.
It is as simple as it looks and a lot deeper than it looks at the same time. So we'll be looking forward to reviewing it. And Dave, thanks so much for spending time with us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for coming by.